So you've been thinking about picking up cycling. A brand new year is rapidly approaching. What's better than right now to start planning? Because you've been thinking about making year 2025 your bitch. So why don't you grab some coffee, sit down, let's talk about it. Hello everyone, how are you? This is yours truly, Diabetic Cycling, coming at you once again. This episode is sponsored by my own damn wallet and brought to you by your engagement. So please do me solid by hitting that like button if you like what I just brought you today, and hit that subscribe button so I can come see you more often. Feel free to ask any questions down below. I try to get to as many of those as possible. By the way, you like what I'm wearing? So I made some merch. So I got these DTR, which down to ride. Got bikes, will travel anytime, anywhere. I am down to ride. That's basically the ethos of myself. So if you like what you're seeing, it's high quality shirts and high quality hoodie. Like, these are so soft and comfy, I cannot tell you. Some sort of a beta testing the whole merch thing. So if you would like to pick one up, I will have all the information down below. Although the day as I'm shooting this right now, I don't think I'll be able to ship them for another week or so. So there you go. Anyhow, so touching a little bit on the intro blurb that I just mentioned, a lot of people pick up cycling for many different reasons. One of the prominent reasons is because of its low impact on your body. If you, like, for instance, compared to running, cycling is a little bit lower impact on your body because your heels are not striking the ground each stroke. So there's no like a shock and a lot of that on your knees and the ankles. Of course, a lot of that is minimized by investing in some quality running shoes. But in general, you do have a lot less impact on your body while you could develop endurance and overall fitness. Now, to me, cycling has become such an integral part of my life where, obviously fitness is one thing, but also it has become a vehicle for me to be out on the road with people that I care about, people that I like, sweating together out on the road. Also at the same time, being able to venture into areas and the roads normally that I might not have been able to think about getting to, but you put together bike trips with your homies and you're out there riding, and that is something that I cannot put to word how valuable it is to me. Now, I don't know what your motivations are. Probably generally, if you're picking up cycling in the beginning of the year, probably to improve your overall health and your fitness. Now, I get often asked by a lot of people, hey, I've been thinking about picking up cycling. What do I need to know about? Now, who am I to advise anybody? However, I will try to lend wisdom. I'm not that wise. I will try to lend my opinion and thoughts in terms of what to be aware of as you're picking up this wonderful sport of cycling. And generally, I'll be talking about road cycling. You could go into the whole MTB stuff, which is a completely different beast. And then there's, of course, the ever so popular lately, the gravel riding, which is a close cousin of road cycling. But mainly for today's episode, I will touch on road cycling and what to be aware of as a noob, aka beginner. First and foremost, I want to touch on this before I go any deeper into this thing. Just as with any sport, any hobby, for you to reach certain level, that is going to take time. You're not going to be able to all of a sudden go out one day and just hammer out 100 miles. That is just not going to happen. You need to build your strength and endurance and overall bike fitness gradually. So this is going to be you starting with 10-mile rides, and then once you get comfortable with that, you get to maybe 18-mile rides. Once you get comfortable with that, maybe you tackle 30-mile rides, and so on and so forth. And you watch GCN videos and you watch diabetic cycling videos, many other quality channels on YouTube. A lot of them will even talk about stuff like FTP and rolling resistance. None of that junk matters when you are just starting out. It's about you getting out more often and finding yourself enjoyment, which will keep you going out on rides. So build your fitness gradually. It's not something you're gonna all of a sudden gain in a day or two. For instance, I was out, I forget when, but I was out with a bunch of people, and one of the guys was absolutely brand new to this, and he probably thought, hey, guys are going out on a bike ride, how hard can it be? So I think he approached it a little bit too casually. So what ended up happening is the guy had absolutely no bike fitness at all. He probably thought we were just going to be riding bikes like cruising beach, whatever, that kind of a pace. But once the things got going, he immediately found out within 3 miles of the ride out of our 100-mile day, and he dropped out. So, yes, we've all been riding bikes since we were kids, but it's going to take time for you to build up to certain level that you're comfortable with. So let's not jump into this whole thing thinking you're going to be elite level rider in just a matter of a couple weeks. Second point to touch on. Many of you may have thought I would do this video going over the bike, what kind of a bike to get first. No. I'll get to that later part of this video. The next thing that I want to touch on is what not to do. So don't be that guy. And what I mean right now is, particularly, you've seen these guys before. You would be driving in your car and then you see a bike rider coming on the same side of the road that you're on, but they're coming opposite direction on the shoulder. I guess the rationale behind it is that guy is just trying to gain visibility so that he knows what's coming towards him rather than being on the same side of the road as the moving vehicles moving at the same direction. But you see these guys on bikes, they are coming opposite direction. Don't be that guy. Of course, none of your bike riding friends will ever allow you to do this, any serious roadie friends of yours. But especially if you're just beginning and you're out there, you're uncomfortable with the cars coming behind you that you can't see, and maybe the instinct there is that you travel the other way so that you could see what cars are coming. That is no good. You must obey the traffic law just as if you are in a vehicle. So you move the same direction as the cars on the road. So don't be that guy. Okay, so next point that I want to touch on is clothing. Now, do you need to have particular cycling clothing for you to be out on the road and enjoy a bike ride? No. However, can certain appropriate attire make you feel more comfortable out on the road so that you could go farther and have even more enjoyable time? That is quite possible. Now, when I talk about clothing, this may be controversial because my opinion may be different than others. So obviously consult others that you are close to see what they say. Now, this is how I look at it. Cycling clothing, what we call kits, range anywhere from super affordable to mega expensive. You get the cheap stuff, for instance, from AliExpress. Opposite spectrum of that is something like Pound of Mile Studio, MAP, Rafa at once was that premium brand, although not so much nowadays. So you could really run the gamut. So like for instance, something like a bib shorts. By the way, bib shorts are the ones that go on the bottom part. So what we call bib shorts, they could range anywhere from $20 from China to something like from the elite, the most elite of the elite brands, where a pair of bib shorts could cost you $500. Do you need $500 bib shorts? No, you don't. However, what I would recommend you do is, like for instance, when you look for something like bib shorts, you need a chamois. And what I mean by chamois is the cushy part of the bib shorts. So this is where a lot of cushioning comes from in terms of suspension on road bike. So the good quality of chamois will lessen the unpleasant feedback that you will have on your ass, basically. Now, everybody's ass is different. What my ass likes might not be something your ass like. Your mileage may vary. So, however, quality chamois, I'm sure everybody will agree, all the experienced riders, quality chamois will go a long way making your ride much more comfortable to deal with. And then in terms of inside, and this is another thing. So this is where the expensive stuff versus cheap stuff also comes in play, because not only the material, but the stitching is important, because where the stitching exists, if that's not done well, if that's not done smoothly, what you're going to end up having is like a piece of a thread or the material that's kind of rubbing against you, constantly chafing, and that's going to make things very uncomfortable. You will have a rash, and it's just no good. So you sort of get what you pay for up to a certain point. Now, again, are the $500 bib shorts like that much better than, I don't know, $200 bib shorts? Debatable. But definitely do invest in good quality bib shorts. Next item is, again, this is sort of there are two schools of thoughts on this. It's the base layer. So the base layer is the top that you wear underneath your actual cycling jersey. When the weather is chill and cold, like winter, I definitely reach for a base layer, because that's just another layer to keep sort of warm and more comfortable. Because I overheat easily, so I prefer not to do the whole vest and the whole jacket sort of thing unless the weather dips below 40, let's say. So the base layer, a lot of people wear one regardless of the weather, especially if you have a terrible quality jersey. Good base layer will do you good, because the base layer will at that point soak up the sweat and then sort of pushes that away from your body. Whereas if you have a good quality jersey, perhaps you may not need one, especially weather is above 100 degrees, then you know the common school of thought may be do away with another layer as such and just go straight to a jersey. So base layer. Second thing is the actual jersey. This is the top portion of your outfit. This one is from MAP, one of the premier brands in road cycling. So when you pick up a quality one, I hate to sound like an asshole. I hate to sound like a materialist, but you could immediately feel the difference in the fabric that's been used and the quality of stitching that's different. The zipper quality is a lot better in terms of how smooth it is. And obviously, something that we will talk about is how well cut these things are. So, you know, they have a really snug body hugging fit, and that's something that I want to touch on. A lot of people that pick up cycling for the first time, you may be quote unquote, somewhat out of shape. And I don't mean to say that in any like a derogatory manner. People are picking up sporting and activities to get into better shape. So if you are one of those that may feel like, hey, I'm not in shape, I want to get into shape, a lot of these people make a mistake, in my opinion, by picking their clothing items that's not snug, because they're somewhat self-conscious about their appearances, so they opt for like something a little bit larger than that, what they are comfortable with. Because these things, if you see the guys and gals, it's basically skin tight. It's very snug, and there are reasons for that. And largely aero, you don't want the thing like flapping around. But at your stage when you're beginning, you're just picking up the sport, the last thing you're thinking about is aero. But also at the same time, you don't want this thing to flap around. It's not good in a sense that, look, if you stick with the sport that you just picked, the cycling, you will lose weight quickly, right? So what happens? You start with something larger than what you would be comfortable with because you're a little bit conscious. Maybe you have a little bit of a beer gut, whatever. So you buy something larger to hide it, but then you drop 10, 15 pounds quickly. Then all of a sudden, this thing is now a sale. So you don't want that. So get something snug. And who gives a shit if you look, super tight with your beer gut with one of these? Nobody cares. You may think that it's an embarrassing look or whatever. Believe me, people don't give a shit. And you just need to do, you need to do you. Basically is what I want to emphasize. So get something snug, you will lose weight, great. You will look even better at that point. So don't get something oversized. That is a advice that I would like to give. And then as the weather gets a little bit cooler, as I mentioned earlier, then you could go get yourself a what we call gilet or a vest, something like this. Certain vests also comes with a pocket in the back, just like jerseys. So these are great because they're very thin, but they offer you the warmth and like especially on windy days. And then when you get a little bit toasty, then you could take it off and you could roll it and put it in your jersey back pocket. So the vests are very handy when it comes to cooler, chillier day riding. So I've gone through the clothing items, but again, you don't need to spend a ton of money, but you do need to budget for your clothing just so that your day out on the saddle is a lot more enjoyable and more comfortable. And then before I leave the whole clothing topic onto the next thing, one of the things a lot of people find weird, but is somewhat standard, is when you wear your bib shorts, you don't actually wear underwear. A lot of people may think that's a little weird, but if you have underwear on, basically it works against the design of the bib shorts where you will have chafing and all rash and all that kind of issue. So go with, you go commando when you put your bib shorts on. So I know. I had the same reaction when I first found that out. But anyhow, Uncle DC is here to steer you the right direction. Next point, again, is going to be a controversial topic. This is one that I all the time share with the people that are just starting out. Don't be a slave to numbers. So by this, I mean this. So inevitably, you're going to hear this expression, if you didn't Strava, it didn't happen. So there's this app, you log your rides and it shows you how many watts you did, how many kilojoules of work you did on a bike ride, how many miles you rode, and if you have a power meter on your bike, so yes, certain numbers you do need to pay attention to, especially when you're starting out. Maybe your max is 5 miles per day and you want to know, and you're just measuring your improvement by today I did 5, next Saturday I'll do 7 miles, next month my goal is to hit 20 mile per ride, whatever that is. So it's good to have that kind of objective, your goal that you want to reach. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, even I myself was a victim of this whole thing. So way back when I was getting serious with road cycling and what have you, a bunch of friends and I went on what's called a Century, which is a 100-mile ride day. It was when we finished the ride, it was 99.6 miles. So basically another 0.4 miles to tick the ticker to nice even number 100. Now, it's what I call garbage miles. So I circled around wherever it was until my odometer for the ride read 100 miles. What does that really do? It doesn't really do much at all. I mean, if the ride ended at 97, then I'm happy with 97. That's okay. So don't be a slave to numbers and enjoy your bike ride, not make it a chore kind of like thing. That's what I would like to sort of share with you. And then I don't know how many of my regular viewers are watching this episode since it's for beginners. A lot of my regular viewers also send me Strava requests, but I don't accept any because it's not because I'm some douche or anything like that. It's only because to me, I use the Strava as a private log, diary, journal to kind of just note what I've done. It's for me and me only. I just need to know that I did certain things certain day. It's not for me to brag to others or because I'm an attention-seeking whore that's hunting for kudos on Strava. That's just against my own personality, but obviously you may feel completely differently, which I respect. If you are one that gets motivated by a lot of people cheering you on, and you use that as a motivation and that fuels you for the next ride, by all means, absolutely. But me personally, I don't really care about whether today's my average speed was 18, but yesterday it was 18.2. So now, I'm negatively impacted because I'm paying too much attention to the numbers, and that's not something I would recommend to those of you that's just starting out. Okay, so at some point you will have to ditch your sneakers and get into what we call clipless pedal system. So like that, cycling specific shoes. So what's going to end up happening, the best way I can explain you is this. So the cleats will lock onto the pedal and your legs, your feet, and the shoe and the bike's pedal, you'll become one, system of one. So this is exactly same as if you ski. You know how your ski binding and you become one with that ski? Same thing. If you snowboard, same thing. Binding, snowboard, you're in there and you become one with your equipment. Same thing. The shoe allows you to do that. And then, so this whole cleat that locks into the pedal, that's gonna take getting used to, but so it's eventually something you'll end up having to get familiar with if you get serious with road cycling. Now, when we talk about these things, you're gonna hear stuff like leather sole and stiffness index, and it's made with carbon insole, and it's made with nylon and this, and boa dial this, and strap that, Velcro this. So only thing that I would recommend you to do is this. Don't pay attention to all that. Again, you sort of get into an area where what you pay is what you get. Obviously, more money you spend means it's going to be lighter, possibly stiffer, but I don't know how much of that is really gonna impact you, especially at beginner level. And even if you become serious enthusiast level, the amount of difference you're gonna get from $500 shoes versus $250 shoes, trust me, it's not gonna be twice much. So you just need to find pair of shoes that you find yourself comfortable with, because these things come with various different material, and the shoe design itself, the way, the arc, I mean, it's basically same thing like picking out your running shoes. They're all different, so it's something that you do need to pay attention to at some point as you get serious with cycling. And then, going over the whole clipless thing, it's not about if you fall down while learning the whole pedal system, it's when you fall down. It's guaranteed that you will go down. Especially a lot of people go down at like a stop sign or red light because you're approaching and you have to come to a stop. You have to clip out of one leg so that you could bring the bike to stop, and then you can stand with your foot. As you're learning that motion is not natural, you fail to unclip on time, and then you go down like a timber and you just find yourself on the ground. So it is, what's the expression? Rite of passage? It's one of those things. So just know that it's coming if you get into the whole clipless pedal system. Maybe you are so athletic and you're so natural at this, maybe you won't fall down, but basically 9 out of 10 people that pick up cycling and go clipless, they all at some point find themselves on the ground. Inevitably, you will have a situation on the road. So a couple of things. What I do is I carry a dog tag that I wear around my neck while I'm on the ride. The tag has my name, my wife's name, phone number to reach my wife, also has my medical condition that I'm diabetic, and so if the EMTs come, if something happens to me during a ride, if the EMTs come, they could see, what kind of conditions that I'm dealing with. And I also tell all my riding buddies, right? If something were to happen, I tell all my buddies that to reach for the dog tag to get my wife's number and reach her that way to let her know something terrible has happened to me. Of course, knock on wood, something like that doesn't happen, but one of these things, or a company called Road ID also sells something that you wear on your wrist with the same information that you can put down. So something to think about. It's not mandatory, but I think it's good to be prepared just in case. I've also had case of seizures and strokes in my life in the past. So something like this, because you just don't know what's going to happen. In terms of incidents that could also happen on the road is, most commonly getting a flat tire. So you need to carry things in your saddle bag to be able to not only have the material ready, like a spare tube, and whether it's a CO2 or whatever, but you also need to learn how to do it. Because if you have a flat tire, if you know how to do it, after 10 minutes of swapping the thing out, you're back on the road to get home. But if you don't know how, then that becomes a big problem, because you could call for Uber. Not all Uber drivers want your bike in their car. So that's something that you will have to learn how to do at some point soon, early. Next point is, again, this is going to be a controversial opinion that a lot of people, a lot of experienced riders may not agree with me, although I agree to a certain point. So, bike fit is very important, especially in road cycling. And it's important because of this. If you're just on a beach, you're cruising around for 2-3 miles, your fit isn't really all that crucial. I mean, you're going to be upright, you're going to be comfortable. That bike is not meant to go fast. Now, if you are on a road bike, whether that's an endurance bike, whether that's a performance race bike, I mean, if you're on the road bike, what's going to end up happening is this. The name of the game is long distance, how fast you could go, you're pushing yourself to your limits. Of course, as you're beginning, that will be down the road, but eventually that's sort of where you're heading, right? This is where bike fit is important, because if you are properly comfortable on the bike, you're well fit, you could generate a lot of power, which equals speed in longer distance. if you're ill-fitted on a bike, you're going to be very uncomfortable. You can't ride fast. You can't go far. It's not fun. Your body hurts. And then what happens? You end up giving up riding altogether. So it is very important that you find a good fit. Now, there are bike fitter businesses where professional bike fitters will fit you on, and they will go, okay, you need your handlebar to be at this length. You need to buy a bike this size that has this length of tubing and this and that, and your saddle needs to be about this high, not this high. So that's what the bike fitter will do for you. Now, I'm not the biggest proponent of going to go get bike fitted by these professional bike fitters. Again, I said controversial opinion. However, you need you as a beginner will need a reference point. I mean, how do you know and how do you not know what's comfortable, what's not comfortable? You don't have a reference point. So you need to start somewhere, and that somewhere shouldn't be you just throwing your leg over a saddle and just see what works and what doesn't work. You need to start off at a reasonably close proximity of the proper position that's good for you and your body, and then you need to go from there. So that's something that not only I would recommend, but a lot of your buddies will also recommend when they find out that you're picking up cycling. Speaking of being comfortable, now I want to talk about a saddle. You might ask a lot of your buddies that you are thinking about riding with because they've been bragging to you how they were on this epic bike ride and bike trip and whatever, and you ask, so hey, John, what's your favorite saddle? And John tells you, hey, I've been riding this saddle, blah, blah, blah. I understand, it's fine. Thing is, everybody's ass is different. Everybody's preference is different. What is a great fit as a saddle for Johnny is different than what you may like. Especially, the fit is different, your flexibility is different, your sit bone measurements is different. So all of that contribute to what works for you, what doesn't work for you. For instance, myself, I used to prefer this saddle. This is rock hard. It's made out of completely carbon fiber. There's no give. So basically there's nothing cushy about that saddle, and that used to be my favorite. Actually, it's still one of my favorite saddles. That's because I prefer harder saddles, as that I'm planted better on my saddle, I'm perched better, and I don't feel squishiness underneath me. So that's what I used to like. And then I also liked this saddle from a company called Fabric. Also rock hard. It's got maybe much of a padding, but I mean, you could easily call it not padding because there's really nothing here. It's a super hard saddle. Now, that said, my preference has changed over the years, and now I'm exclusively almost riding this saddle from Sella Italia. Now, what's the difference between these two saddles? You immediately notice the center cut channel on this saddle. So it relieves pressure from, what is that area called? I know only a slang way to say it. I don't want to say that on this channel, despite all my profanity earlier. So the center channel relieves pressure, and that goes a mile in terms of if you're just hammering on the bike, pushing 120 miles a day, whatever. I mean, even if you're on a 10-mile bike ride, it's still the same difference, right? You want to be comfortable, because if you're uncomfortable, you're not going to have fun. And if you don't have fun, you are going to end up giving up bike ride, and we don't want that. So you need to find a saddle that works for you, that works for your ass. What your ass likes, I don't know what that is, but you need to find what that is. Only way to really know is, try out a whole bunch of them like at the shop. Although, as I say that, I know how difficult that is because, shop may have a bunch of different bikes to ride, but I mean, in order for you to really get a feel for a saddle, you need to have a long ride. And, you riding around the shop's parking lot isn't really going to give you that much feedback, usable feedback. So I don't know what I'm trying to tell you with this other than everybody's preference of a saddle is different and you will need to find one that works for you. Next topic, safety, helmet and gloves. Now, helmet, need I say more? Yes, you do need to wear a helmet. Another one of those things where you get what you pay for. I'm not sure if you really should buy a helmet from AliExpress for $17. And that's not because I'm trying to say, things from AliExpress is inferior. That's not what I'm trying to say. I have plenty of things that I buy from AliExpress, just not safety related. If I go down, if my head's gonna hit the ground, I want the best protection available. Having said that, is a $600 helmet 3 times better than a $200 helmet? No, it's not. Certain helmets adhere to different safety standards. European countries have different standards than us, and Japanese helmet companies need to adhere to different standards than the people in United States, vice versa. So just invest in a quality helmet that you like, that fits you well. And that's pretty much all I need to say about that. I mean, you could easily find a quality helmet anywhere from $150 to $250. I know too. That might sound cheap, that might sound expensive depending on your scale, but you just don't need to go buy $1,000 helmet somewhere. Just get yourself a quality helmet, then you're good to go. In terms of gloves, obviously during the summertime, it's a little bit harder to wear a pair. Now, I try to wear as best as I can because I'm in IT. I use my hands for everything. So, and I play a little bit of guitar here and there. So that's important in the sense that I protect my hands. I don't want to fall, brace myself from the fall with my hand and then get my hand all jacked, and I don't want that. So I try to wear, even if it's lightweight gloves, there's some sort of a layer on my hand that goes a long way. And another reason why you wear gloves, to me anyway, is you don't want old man hands from being exposed out in the sun, all wrinkly and all dried up like a old shoe leather. You don't want that. So get yourself some proper pair of gloves, will go a long way. Next point. Right now you are just thinking about picking it up. Right now you're just thinking about how to get that first ride in as you're starting out on this journey. Eventually you're gonna ride with other people. Whether that's with another guy, with another 10 guys, doesn't matter. There's gonna be certain riding etiquette. It's written rules, unwritten rules. I won't go into every single one of them here because, it'll be a while until you get there. But there are some hand signals where you indicate to the other riding buddies of yours in the group whether you're stopping, whether you're making a right turn, whether you're making a left turn, whether you're coming to a stop, pointing out a pothole. So there are some hand signals that universally used, which you will need to pick up, as well as riding etiquette, as in, things like if you guys as a group, you're taking turns in pulling, then you will soon learn things like wheel sucking and all this. But anyhow, you don't want to abuse your friend just having him take on all the headwind. There are some riding etiquettes, taking turns and other things, pointing out potholes and, for safety of the group. Things of the nature you will need to get acclimated, get familiar with those so that you're not that guy. Again, I keep talking about that guy, but I would hate for you to be that guy, so I'm sharing with you. I almost feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but as a beginner, you definitely need a pump. You can't take your bike to a gas station. You can't take your bike to bike shop every time you need to pump air into your tire. So get yourself a pump, whether that's a floor pump, whether that's one of these. These are great because you could also have in your jersey pocket when you go out for a ride. So you don't have to burn through CO2 gas that fills air into your tire when you have a flat and such. So these come in handy. Whatever works for you. Floor pump is great, it's just not portable. But get yourself a pump, and that should go without saying, really. And I keep coming back to this point, but I want to also separately talk about you need to have fun on your bike ride. You need to have fun on your bike, because that's what's going to make you keep coming back to it. You know, you get a bike and you start, and then it's not fun for you and you give up. Bike sits in the corner of your garage, it collects dust, now there's spider web, and now you are using it to perch something on top of it. You're hanging, your wife is using it to dry the blanket after washing and whatever. So I would hate to see that happen, and for that reason I really emphasize how it is utmost important for you to have fun out on the road, however whatever the definition of fun is to you. So that's something that I would again emphasize and stress right now. The final point for this episode, I'll now touch on gear, especially bike. Of course, what kind of bike should I get is one of the most common things a beginner cyclist will face, and maybe it's the most fun part. I don't know. Now, earlier we've already gone through some gear like the saddles and clothing kits, what have you. So it's obviously a lot of fun for experienced riders to geek out and nerd out on what gear, what bike, what's more aero, what's less rolling resistance, and this gizmo just came out, that saves you more X number of watts and all that. Should you be caring about any of this crap as you're starting out? No. Only thing that I would advise is that whatever the bike you get needs to, one, financially make sense for you, and two, it's something you find fun on so that you find yourself continue to keep going out on bike rides. That's the single most important thing. Now, I do say that with this one caveat, and I'll use this analogy. Many years ago, I decided that I was going to pick up snowboarding. I never even been on the slope with a snowboard before this, but here's what I did at the time. I basically bought the best snowboard, best boots, best binding, whatever the best the money could afford at the time. I don't know why, because I wasn't particularly rich or anything, but I felt like I made such an investment into all the gear. I almost felt obligated that I have to go learn how to snowboard. And that actually worked, because I found myself heading out, with my family, with my friends. So eventually I got very good at snowboarding. But basically in the beginning stage, I almost felt obligated to go because I made such investment into the hobby, sport, activity, whatever you want to call it. Now, could the same thing happen here with cycling? Sure. You make the financial investment acquiring all the things that are necessary, and you feel obligated. Now you need to stick to it. You need to carry through. Sure. Hey, whatever, if that floats your boat, man. So along those lines, let's talk about what kind of bike. Because there is no right or wrong answer here. There is no one bike that's going to be the best bike for you. But let's touch on generality of how to go about this. You may look on YouTube, online, You watch GCN videos, you talk online forums, bulletin boards, if Reddit. Inevitably, you're gonna run into people debating aluminum versus carbon. How about steel? How about titanium? How about bamboo? How about whatever all the frame material the companies are commonly using right now? How important is that to you? I don't know, because what you consider important may be different than what I feel important. A lawyer or dentist that's making $5 million a year, who cares if they're picking up $15,000 brand new Pinarello Dogma as their first bike to ride 16 miles a day? And I use this example because I know people like that. Of course, 16 miles a week on a $15,000 bike is better than 0 mile a week riding a couch. So I'm not trying to put that down. I'm just saying. But back to the point, what frame material doesn't really matter as a beginning cyclist. Where it will matter is how much it costs. A lot of people will say, hey, carbon is better than aluminum because it's lighter and it lasts longer. Sure, that's all true. However, not all carbon bikes are the same. Some bad carbon frame is worse than a good aluminum frame bike. So, with that said, is a $6,000 carbon frame set better than $2,000 carbon frame set? Probably. This is where it's going to be, yes, probably. But is it 3 times better? No. So you need to decide on a budget. It's like buying a car. Everybody wants a everybody wants a Ferrari, everybody wants a Lambo, everybody wants a Bentley, of course. But the difference is we need to draw the line somewhere and go, you know what, the best I could do today in my financial situation is that I could get me a really nice, well-spec'd Honda Accord. That's what it is. You know what your budget is, what you're comfortable with spending. So you need to get the most bike with that budget. And that budget may allow you to get some kind of a carbon bike, may allow you to get some kind of just aluminum bike. Doesn't really matter. Just needs to work well. You just need to have fun on it. At the same time, I emphasize this all the time. I want it to look good to you, whatever the bike you get, because what you consider, oh, that's really nice looking bike, you end up riding that a lot more. If you get stuck with something, you may not particularly like the way it looks, but you just ended up getting it because it was a great deal, or riding buddy of yours who's a little bit more experienced told you that's a great deal, it's a great bike, but you kind of don't like the way it looks or the color, you may not end up riding as much. So the way it looks is important to you. Okay, for this next point, I am now holding a guitar. Now, here's an analogy that I'm trying to make by holding a guitar. So when somebody picks up a guitar for the first time, here's what they end up doing. And usually it's like a 13-year-old kid. And what do the parents normally do? Oh, Johnny's picking up guitar, asking us to buy him a guitar. We'll just get him something cheap. Because one, you don't know whether the kid is gonna stick with it or not, and you don't know what to look for as a parent because you're not a guitar player, so you end up getting something cheap. So what happens with something cheap is this: that guitar fights back. It's so hard to play. It's so uncomfortable. It does not stay in tune. So whatever noise that you're making isn't really any sort of a musical endeavor. It's just a bunch of unbearable noise. And Johnny, who got this a cheap guitar from Walmart for $120, is fighting that, the guitar, and it's going to be very uncomfortable, very hard to play, and it's not an enjoyable experience. And at that point, a lot of kids will end up giving up. Now, that doesn't mean I am trying to tell you to get something super expensive. It's just you get what you pay for. So whatever that budget is that I mentioned earlier, you need to get something that, you get the most at your budget, get the most bike, most guitar, most bike that your budget can afford. Because a quality bike isn't gonna hurt you. It's gonna be comfortable to ride. You're gonna like it, and it'll keep getting you out on the road, and that's the most important thing. So you don't end up giving up. You buy a $200 bike from Target, Walmart. It looks like a bike, but it's a bike-shaped object. It's not really a quality bike. And when I say quality bike, it does not have to be a brand new bike. Matter of fact, I would advise you to get yourself a second-hand bike as your first bike, because what used to be $4,000 brand new, now you can probably buy for something between $1,000 and $2,000. And it's probably only 2-3 years older. So you can find a great deal, and used bike market right now is awesome. As a seller, it's terrible, but it's a buyer's market. Lots of bikes out there at great price, and you can find quality bike. So matter of fact, I would advise you, steer you to getting yourself a quality used bike. And of course, you're gonna need somebody who knows to accompany you on this bike buying endeavor, because someone experienced will be able to walk you through what to get, what not to get. I don't know how I feel about buying a used bike from bike shop, because not all bike shops are like this, but there are some bike shops that just kind of terrible, where they're gonna try to push whatever they have on inventory to just leave their floor. So they may be trying hard to sell you a bike that may not fit you well, or it's just been sitting on the floor for 2 years. They're just trying to get rid of it, and you're the sucker that just walked into the door saying, I'm just starting what kind of bike you got. So work with somebody you trust, and that's what I would suggest. As a closing note, here's what I would say. There's gonna be some things that you're gonna need to acquire. A lot of people think cycling is an expensive sport. Yes, it can definitely be expensive, but it does not have to be expensive, especially when you're starting out. Spending less money doesn't mean you will have less fun or less fitness. I mean, if you are working, then you're working, and you'll be more fit. That's just the bottom line. Spending less, riding more is better than spending a lot more and then riding less, if you catch my drift. So when you set your budget, whether that's $2,000 or $3,000, that budget should not be just for the bike, because as I mentioned earlier, you're gonna need some clothing kits, you need to buy a helmet, there's gonna be a pump, and you're gonna need to. So take all that into consideration when you set your budget, and $1,000 budget is just fine. You can get yourself a super nice bike for $750, and rest $250 can go towards helmet and the kit, whatever else. If you have a $2,000 budget, you might be able to get yourself a nice second-hand carbon frame bike. So it goes on and on and on. So whatever the budget is, do sensible shopping, and you will end up liking this sport a lot, just like a lot of people that are riding bikes out there. So I think this was a very lengthy episode, but as we are heading into a new year, I wanted to put this episode out for those of you that have been hitting me up asking, what do I need to know getting my foot in the door, so on and so forth. So there you go. Hope this video helps. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm not trying to pretend that I know it all, I'm all right and righteous and all that. I'm just sharing my one's opinion only, and it could be a flawed opinion. So ask any questions. I'll do my best to answer to my best knowledge, and we'll go from there. Enjoy your ride out there. most of all, be safe. I've been Diabetic Cycling. You've been awesome. Be safe out on the road, but most of all, be good humans. I'm out.